name is Casey Franchini with Brick by Brick Wealth. Today, I'm going to share with you 10 steps for buying a rental property. Buying a rental house, especially for the first time, it's scary. It's a big investment. You have to put money down, and it's something that you're planning to hold on to possibly forever. So taking the first step to being a real estate investor is no light task, and it is serious. Understanding the necessary steps to buying an investment property is imperative to making the right decisions. So good job for searching out the information before hitting the pavement. So before we begin, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you'll be notified of future videos. Now let's get started. Step 1, get yourself financially ready. You aren't going to be ready to buy your first investment property if you aren't financially ready yourself. There are a few major things you need to have going for yourself before you can even start to look at something to buy. I know that looking for houses is honestly the funnest part. It is for me, but it's seriously just a waste of your time if you don't have your ducks in a row. The first thing you need to have is a down payment. There aren't any magic tricks to buying your first house. Now, hopefully you've started saving some money because you'll need anywhere from 3 to 20% of the purchase price to put down on your house. That does not include closing fees, so don't forget that. And when you're the purchaser, it will run you an extra 1% of the purchase price, approximately. And if you plan on doing house hacking, which is where you live in the house and rent out a room, or live in one unit and rent out another unit, then you can put as little as 3% down for an FHA house. But if you're looking for a fixer-upper, FHA will likely not give you a loan, so you'll need to put 5 or 10% down as a minimum to start trying to get a conventional loan. The next step in buying a rental property is lowering your debt-to-income ratio. Debt-to-income ratio is a percentage that the loan officer will look at to determine how much you can qualify for to buy a property. The lower your debt-to-income ratio, the more they will allow you to borrow. You need to start getting rid of things like card payments and credit card debt. You need to up your credit score as much as possible. You may be even asking, what is debt-to-income ratio? Well, the debt-to-income ratio can be found if you add up all of your monthly debt payments and you divide them by your gross monthly income. And your gross monthly income is generally the amount of money you have earned before any taxes or deductions are taken out. Usually, now don't quote me on this, but usually 43% is the highest debt-to-income ratio that a lender will allow and still let you qualify for a mortgage. Because once you have a mortgage, your debt-to-income ratio percentage will be higher as you're adding to your monthly debt. But don't forget, since you'll be renting out the property, you will increase your income with monthly rental payments. So it will even out. That way you can buy a second house even sooner than you think. Anyways, lenders do prefer a ratio in the mid-30s. So as a rule of thumb, the lower your debt-to-income ratio, the more you'll qualify for as far as purchase price. Next, you need to find your tax returns. Lenders will want to see the last 3 years of your tax returns. If you haven't saved them or printed them out from previous years, then it's okay, but you will need to go to the IRS website and request copies of your tax returns. I would even suggest putting them in a PDF file on your computer because you're going to be needing to submit those tax returns every single time you buy a house. The second step in buying a rental property is talk to a lender. There's no sense in wasting your time searching for houses you won't be able to afford. Also, there's no sense in wasting a real estate agent's time if you haven't talked to him or her and you don't know your price range. Matter of fact, that is the first thing they're going to ask you when you pick up a phone and talk with them. They're going to want to know if you talked to a lender and if you got pre-qualified. So when you call a lender, you're going to want to ask for pre-qualification. There is a difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval. Pre-qualification is basically where you just know all the information about yourself, such as your credit score, exact income you should know, car payment, student loan debt, child support, or any other mandatory payments. And over the phone, they can give you a pretty good roundabout idea of how much you're going to qualify for. Pre-approval, on the other hand, is when you actually give them your social security number, your tax returns, your check stubs from your job, etc. Basically, they're going to want all the hard details in writing and proof because they're going to give you a legit paper pre-approval letter that you could use for actually buying a house. It takes time to get all of that done. It's a whole process. And you don't need to do it at this stage because they will check your credit and you don't want too many inquiries on your credit report. I would recommend getting the pre-approval right before you're ready to dive into making offers on investment properties. So now that you've talked to a lender and you know the price range, the next step in buying a rental property is to find a real estate agent. Step 3, find a real estate agent. You need to find a real estate agent before you can start investing in rental properties. I would suggest maybe getting recommendations from friends or taking notice of the real estate agent signs when you're driving around in the area that you're thinking about investing in. Maybe even call up one of those agents and ask them if they'd be interested in being your real estate agent. If you're trying to look at houses, let's say, under $100,000 in a B or a C class part of town, I would not call the #1 real estate agent in the city who sells $1 million listings and her face is all over billboards. That's not the type of real estate agent that will want to work with you. And frankly, they won't really know anything about the lower end market. It would be a big plus if you could find a real estate agent that has experience working with investors, likes to work with investors, and could possibly get you off-market deals before they even hit the MLS. The 4th step in buying an investment property is research your market. You can honestly start doing this at any time. If you have a general idea of the housing price you're going to be looking to invest in, you can go to Realtor.com, Zillow.com, Trulia, any of those, and start putting in your automatic search as to what you'll be looking for. That way, when new houses come on the market, you can check out the photos, look at stats like square footage, number of beds and baths, and get a feel for the price range with upgrades and a price range without upgrades so you can start understanding what houses go for in your market and in what kind of condition they're going. That way, when you see something come up on the market or when you do go see a house with a real estate agent, you'll know then if it's a good deal or not because you've been doing your research. Now, after you research your market and you're ready to pull the trigger, you'll need to call your lender back and get your pre-approval letter. Step 5, pre-approval letter. That is the time when the lender is going to run your credit, and that's when you're going to give them all the documentation about yourself, some of which we did touch on a minute ago. And the lender will then give you an exact amount that you can buy. This is the amount that the bank is promising in writing that they will loan to you. And usually your lender letter is good for 30 days. And that's why you don't get the pre-approval letter before you're ready to start making offers. Now, the next step is when it starts getting real. It's when the heart starts pounding. It's when you start saying to yourself, oh my gosh, I think this is actually happening. Step 6, go look at properties. If you have a good real estate agent, they may call you when a potential investment property comes on the market. But chances are, if you're looking in the lower price range and you're not buying tons of these all the time, they will have bigger clients that they will work with first. So you'll have to do your own research. And when a property hits the MLS, you'll need to call the agent right away and say you need to go see it. That day would be the best. If you're in a seller's market, which is when there are tons of offers to choose from and the seller gets to pick the cream of the crop, which let me say that's what we're in right now here in Tennessee, then you need to see those properties as soon as they hit the market. If your real estate agent is busy or says, oh, we can see that house in 4 days or next Tuesday, that's just not going to be good enough. You'll never get a good deal and you'll need to go find a new agent. Now, of course, you will find better investment properties off market, at wholesale, or 20% below value. Yes, you will find those. You definitely can. But honestly and realistically, you're going to buy your first property through the MLS. So the best way to get the best deal on the MLS right now in this market is to make an offer quickly. You can't sit around and mull it over and over in your head and talk to 40 different people about it and get your aunt's opinion, yada, yada. You're going to actually have to take action, and it's going to have to be very quick. And you're going to need to have your lender letter ready to submit with your offer. So now that you've looked at property, maybe you see one that you like. The next thing you would do is determine if the property is a good or bad investment. So the next step is step 7, determine. Is this a good or bad investment? For this step, you need to take emotion out of it. You're not buying a house to live in. You're not buying your dream home. For me, I buy houses to rent out. I use the buy and hold process. When I look at a house, I don't look for attributes in the rental house that I'm wanting for my own house. For example, I'm not going to want a pool in an investment house. It's just too much liability. What if someone drowns? I don't want to be responsible for that. And also, I'm not going to care if it has 20-foot ceilings. Maybe in my dream home, I want more than 8-foot ceilings. But for a rental house in the market that I buy in, I don't need that. And I'm not going to care as much that there's a 3-car garage, except for maybe the fact that there is a garage, or there is a carport, or there is street parking, or whatever is the norm for your area. Just take emotion out of it, be blah, and look at it like an investment. Strictly numbers. Look at your competition, and don't put emotion into buying your house. So what makes sense for me right now are the single family residences that are under 1,500 square feet, don't have a pool, have a carport or a single car garage, and are in a decent neighborhood. I also don't like houses that are 2 stories because it just gives me more problems. And that's just my opinion though, and again, I'm in the Memphis market. But I am curious, what city are you looking at investing in? If you could, please comment below with the major city. If you live in some outskirts city that I'm not going to know where that is, just put the major city that you're thinking about investing in. If you could comment below. It is so interesting to see where everyone is at and what the trends are across the country. Also, I would recommend when looking to see if a property is a good deal or a bad deal, I want to know how much work it's going to take to get this place fixed up. Chances are the house is going to need some sort of work. So try and look through your filter lens, if you will. And if you're looking at a house that's currently occupied, you're going to have to imagine what the house looks like without furniture. Don't get caught up in how cute their farmhouse decor is. You need to imagine the house empty. Look at the walls. Look at the doors, the floors. What kind of shape is the kitchen in? How bad are the bathrooms? Look under the sinks and see, has there been a leak? And if you're going to have to replace the cabinets. Check out the roof. How old is the HVAC system? See how much your big ticket items are going to cost, or if they're new. For me, I would rather replace old appliances than replace an HVAC unit. So get your pen and paper and start writing down all the things that are going to be replaced. Then go home and add them all up. You can look at Home Depot or Lowe's and get an idea of how much materials cost, and then add about 3 times the cost to have someone repair it. It is a good idea to look online as well and get a general estimate of cost per square foot to refinish hardwood floors, or replacing an HVAC system, or getting a new roof. You can get all of those ideas online first without having someone come out. You're likely not going to have a contractor that's going to show up to every single house that you want to offer on and give you a run-through of how much everything is going to cost to fix. If you can get that and you have someone who can do that for you, that would be awesome. But that would take a lot of time out of the contractor's day, especially if you're a new investor. They don't know if you're going to be around, if you're going to be buying multiple houses, how much business are you going to be giving them, and they probably aren't going to want to do that for you. But if you do have a family friend or a family member who is a contractor or who even maybe has that sort of knowledge, that would be awesome, and you are already ahead of the game. Okay, now that you picked a house you think would make a good investment, you need to make an offer. Step 8, make an offer. Your real estate agent will be the best tool you have in this step. Depending upon your market and the individual seller situation, your real estate agent will be able to help you negotiate the best deal. My advice would be don't get caught up in the negotiating and don't get emotionally attached. If the seller isn't willing to sell the house for the price that you think it's worth, then just back out. You don't need to buy the house, and don't feel guilty about it. There are tons of other houses out there. Yes, it will take more work and more driving the streets and more looking in more houses and more appointments with your agent, but you're going to own that house for what? maybe the rest of your life? The next 30 years? Will this be a house that you pay off down the road that you then pass down to your children and your grandchildren, creating generational wealth for generations to come? Yes, it definitely could be that. So make sure that you buy the right house for the right reason, because it's a huge decision and you don't want to pick the wrong house. Once you make an offer on the house and it does get accepted, it's now yours. Now you get to fix it up. The next step to buying a rental property is step 9, get it ready to rent. The first thing you will want to do when the house is in your name is transfer utilities. Transfer them into your name, and if you can, put them on auto payments so that you don't forget to pay the utilities bill. Fix it up the best you can for the wisest amount of money. Don't go crazy overboard, and don't over rehab. Don't put marble countertops in the kitchen. Those stay. Only put durable upgrades, because if the tenant can break it, they will. We had a tenant move in and the security door wasn't working very well. And we knew that. So we bought a new security door. We thought that it would be great to upgrade from the ugly wrought iron security door and put in a nice full glass security door. Well, guess what happened a few years later? Her son's basketball hit it and cracked it. Now, do you think they're going to fix the security door? So that's another $300 replacement that we're going to have to do. Anyways, after everything is fixed up, the last step is to get it ready to rent out. Now that you're ready to rent out your first investment property, there are 2 options you need to consider. The first option you can consider is hiring out your property management. I would recommend calling a few property management companies that are local to your area, ones that you've seen, maybe signs around the neighborhood. Ask them what they charge and what it would include. Compare them and see which one is the best one and if you want to go that route. The other option is being your own property manager, aka being a landlord. Property management companies charge approximately 10% of the rental amount to manage the property. Plus, you have to pay for repairs. Don't think that you're just going to pay your 10% and they take care of the maintenance. They don't. You don't have the option of doing the repairs yourself to save money if you hire a property management company. So please keep that in mind. So if being your own property manager maybe is something that you're interested in doing, you'll need to learn to do it the right way, just so that your tenant doesn't take advantage of you, and just so that it doesn't cost you thousands of dollars in mistakes. My most recent video is on how to be a landlord, and I give 9 tips for success. You can check it out. There's a link in the description box below. I highly recommend it, and that will give you some really helpful insight on what to do as a landlord and not make tons of mistakes in the beginning. Also in the description box below, I'm giving away a free digital download of a sample blank tenant application that you can print out and use right away. And with that, I also include a guide to the 5 things that I require tenants to have before they can sign a lease. Anyways, if you have learned something in this video, please like the video below and subscribe. And don't forget to ring the bell next to the subscribe button so you'll be notified of all of my future videos on real estate investing. Thank you so much for watching Brick by Brick Wealth.